Hey everybody, Cajun Reviews for you, coming straight at you again today. And today, I want to talk to you about my pump pliers. So let's roll. So this right here, I have a set of these Klein pump pliers. I don't know, not sure why it's called a pump plier, but it's called a pump plier. Anyway, so this right here, these two yellow handle pliers are from Klein, manufacturer Klein. The model number is D5052 KIT. It's a kit. These two pliers come together. This is the 10-inch and the, I think it's a 6-inch that comes with this. The two sizes that come with it. I'm trying to verify that right now. 7-inch. I'm sorry, 7-inch and 10-inch. So this is the 7-inch pliers right here, and this is the 10-inch. So these are bought at Lowe's. They're probably on the shelf, about $25 for both. They should be on, like I said, should be on the shelf at your local Lowe's, or it should be easy to obtain these. So the reason why I have these is because I work on commercial fire alarms a lot, and a lot of times fire alarm wiring is encased in metal conduit between devices and back to the panel, etc. And just pretty much almost like electrical. All electrical pretty much on commercial installations is going to be in conduit. The majority of fire alarms are in conduit. I wouldn't say all of them, because it is not all of them that are in conduit, but most of them are in metal conduit. And you know, these fittings fit on the end of a pipe. This comes apart like this, and you stick the pipe through this right here, and it matches up to this portion of the fitting, and you screw the fitting back down on here. And then say if this is the fire alarm panel box, this part of the fitting, this nut comes off of here. This fits in through a pre-engineered knockout on the top of the box. You put this nut on the bottom like that, tighten it down, and then the wire is coming out of the bottom of the fitting, because it's in the pipe. The wire is in the pipe, comes through the fitting and out of the bottom of this fitting right here and into the fire alarm control panel. So it's pretty much the same thing with all of these fittings. I got a few different styles of things that I had laying around. I got a couple different sizes and different styles of fittings. Anyway, the reason why I wanted to talk to y'all today about this, and I just got reminded of something about these other pliers here that I'm going to get to in a second. But sometimes what we need to do and what I need to do in order to do my job is I need to loosen. Sometimes these nuts right here are pretty tight on these fittings, and can't just hand turn it because it's been tightened with a tool. So what I usually do is I like to use these pump pliers. You got to get it in just the right position. You put it on the end of the fitting like that, and now you can turn that fitting with the tool. Sometimes you also need to put a backup pair of pliers on the pipe to stop the entire pipe from turning when you're trying to turn this fitting. So sometimes frequently need two different pairs, one pair on the fitting and another pair of pliers on the pipe itself. So that's what I've been doing with these. So these things are pretty nice in how they operate, how these jaws are made on here. In order to expand the jaw opening, you have to turn it like this and then move it to that, to wherever you want it, and then close it back. Okay, you get a pretty good range, I would say, on squeezing of these jaws. So I have a measuring stick right here. I was just going to measure this. So at the closed position, these jaws are at about 1.5 inches apart right here, from the tip of the handle to the tip of the handle, about 1.5 inches. So if you open them up all the way, wow, it goes pretty wide open. It goes to 7 1/4. So almost 6 inches of spread on these handles. This is on the 7-inch set. So on this set, I'm gonna put these in the same position. So this right here is at pretty much 1.5 inches on spread on these pliers, and these open all the way to 9.5. So you get 9.5 inches of opening between the handles. So right here, they're 1.5 inches apart. You spread them all the way open. It goes to 9.5 between the ends of the handles. So, you know, if you're trying to open something this big, you know, it's not very easy to operate the tool because you can't fit your hand around the handles in order to squeeze the whatever you're trying to hold, you know, get a grip on it. So you'll probably ideally need actually a larger pair of pliers or a different type of tool to hold that, maybe a pipe wrench to hold that. But that's generally how this goes. These are some good tools. I like that, you know, once you put this thing in position, that the way this is made, once you kind of slide this little thing in position and you put it in there, you can grab a hold of a fitting such as this, and I can hold it very tightly like that. They got the teeth on the pliers right here that kind of get a grip on the material. I think it's pretty nice. The top jaw, the bottom jaws, I don't know if you can really see it in the picture, but see it in the video. The bottom jaws are angled that way, kind of. They're about that angle. So they're angled that way. The top jaws, the grips on them are angled this way, back towards the tool. So I think that gives it some greater gripping power when it's trying to grip something. So like this is a 3/4 inch threaded coupling. So I work with this pretty regularly, but anyway, that's what I needed this for, was to be able to hold fittings like this. This is a 3/4 size. This is a 3/4 inch pipe to box fitting. Sometimes we need to grab a hold of these lock nuts with pliers. This is comfortable for me to do this with these pliers. I'm gonna try the same thing with these 7-inch pliers. And this is very comfortable too, to work with the tool and to be able to turn that nut on the end of that fitting. Right here I have the 1/2 inch. This is a 1/2 inch pipe to box fitting. Like I said, this fits on there very easily. This one seems kind of big though. These pliers seem kind of big for that, because normally if this is a 1/2 inch fitting, so that's a relatively small piece of pipe. Normally if you have that, space is limited. So there's going to be a wall right here or some other obstruction. You don't have all the room like I have here. You don't have all that space in a real world application to be able to use this tool on the fitting and have full access to this thing, because there's almost always a wall. Well, there's going to be a wall there or some other obstruction. So on the 1/2 inch fittings, I think this works better, because this small plier takes smaller footprint. It just fits into a small space better. This is another style of 1/2 inch fitting right here. It's 1/2 inch lock nut on there. This tool fits on the lock nut very well. I got a good grip on it. This here is an offset fitting, 1/2 inch offset fitting. And I would have to, in order to work with this, normally put it on there like this to be able to turn this thing. Okay, so this is an offset fitting, you know, to maybe connect one box that has a knockout here to another box that has a knockout up here. Or sometimes, you know, if it comes out of the top of a box, this fits into the top of the one box and into the bottom of another box, because this offset would space the fitting closer to the wall, because normally the knockouts on the top of the boxes are spaced away from the back edge of the box. So that's what I use these for. But anyway, these tools fit on here pretty easily, like so. I like this tool. This works out pretty well for me. I think if anybody out there with Klein is listening, I think it will be helpful to have on a tool marked on the tool some kind of way for 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch sizes. You know, this is supposed to be electrician tools. Electricians work with 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1 inch, 1.5 inches. Those are common sizes for electricians to work on. If they were marked on the tool some kind of way so you can position these jaws, pre-position the jaws to fit a 1/2 inch fitting without having to, you know, do this and you got to measure it on the fitting. And, you know, I think that's kind of cumbersome. But overall, these are some great tools. I like these. These are the tools I go to get when I need to do such work. I have another pair of these in my tool bag like this, the bigger ones, but honestly, I think the smaller one gets the majority of the work done. And these are easier to fit in, like if I need to put it in my pocket, bring it with me up a big ladder or somewhere like that. These fit in my pocket a lot easier. These are kind of heavy and just bigger and bulkier. But sometimes you need that bigger and bulky one, maybe to grab a hold of a larger pipe, or you need a second pair of pliers to do a job. So what I also have here is the Doyle. Let me get the part number on this. This is the Doyle 10-inch fast adjust water pump pliers. And this is model number 56748. I bought these at Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight tends to sell mostly mechanical tools. I guess mechanics would be using these tools to maybe grab a hold of hoses, etc., that they're working on automobiles with or whatever. I'm not sure what they would use them for. I mean, I'm not using this in a mechanical environment, other than, you know, the environments that I may get into working on fire alarms. But anyway, the thing about this though, so these tools right here is the same length, the same size. See, these tools are the same size, 10-inch and 10-inch. Okay, these open wide up. Look how the spread on the handles on these. Okay, so on this tool, it has a button. So the button, so another one, look how they don't open very far, okay? I don't really care for that. The button, you gotta press the button and adjust the jaws to fit around whatever you're trying to squeeze, I guess. I'm not sure what the rhyme or reason is with this, but you know, once you press the button to fit what you're trying to grab a hold of, and then you can use these pliers to do that. But the thing is with this, like I said, these 10-inch pliers have like an 8-inch spread on the handles. So this right here is about the halfway mark on the openings, and at the halfway point, these handles are about 2.5 inches apart. The very tip of the handle is about 2.5 inches apart. Maybe, 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches apart. So if we open them wide up, the spread only goes to 3 3/4. So there's only 1.25 inches of opening. Once you get it into this position, 1.25 inches of opening on these jaws. I don't really care for that. I don't know what the reasoning is for this, because, you know, out in the real world, you know, it might be hanging on a ladder or something or whatever when I'm working on a piece of conduit or whatever. It could be anything, okay? Working on that. Don't always have the space in the work area to be able to hold these pliers on what I'm trying to work on. Press the button and move them into position in order to grab a hold of this. Now, once it's in position, yeah, I got a pretty good grip on this right here. But it's the thing about moving pressing the button and moving the pliers. You need 2 hands pretty much to do this. You know, I just find it cumbersome. You know, I don't know what the reasoning is behind this. Maybe these are broken. Anyway, I wanted to show you about this. So these pliers right here, these are the soft jaw pliers that I talked about in a different video. So right here, these handles are about 7/8 of an inch apart, right here, the very tips, about 7/8 of an inch. And they spread open to all the way to 6 inches. So there's over 5 inches of spread on these compared to these. You know, they appear to be the same pliers. Let's see, so we'll put these back. So they appear to be the same pair of pliers, more or less. The soft jaw pliers, the head is angled upward more, and these are angled more at like probably about a 45-degree angle towards that way. But, you know, I don't understand why there's such a little spread on these, and it gets to be even less once you get out here. Look, you only got that much on this, and on this thing, you got that much. So I don't understand what the reasoning behind that is. Maybe, like I said, maybe these are broken. I don't know. But anyway, on the soft jaw pliers, those are at Harbor Freight. That's the SKUs. The model number is 70581. Doyle is the manufacturer. 70581 is the model number on this, by Doyle at Harbor Freight. These are $25 right now on the internet at Harbor Freight. This right here is the 56748 10-inch water pump pliers. They're $21.99 right now on the internet at Harbor Freight. And this right here is the Klein D5052 KIT kit. You get both of these tools for $24.98 at Lowe's. So nothing against Harbor Freight. Maybe these pliers are broken, but this is the better set of pliers in my opinion. The only thing I will say is this, the way these, I'm just noticing these handles are made differently too. Just noticing that. This has these handles have a curve to them, but this doesn't. So what I will say about this is on these pliers, these handles are more comfortable than the Kleins. So it's not that these are uncomfortable. It's just this is more comfortable because of the angle of the handle. So I prefer the handle of these, the way that these handles are shaped on these soft jaw pliers. I prefer the angle of this. You know, this could still serve a purpose for like grabbing a hold of this coupling like this. And just to say, if I would probably use these on, just say if this was in a lobby of a business somewhere and this fitting was exposed, if you use a metal jaw pliers, it's going to scratch these fittings up. If if it slips on it, it's going to scratch them up. Whereas you use these soft jaw pliers, it won't scratch the fitting. You know, it's an aesthetic thing. It might be minor, it might not be no big deal to some people, but that's just me and how I would, think about this. But the only thing about this, using the soft jaw pliers, like I said, these are just little rubber pads right here. They are replaceable, but these are rubber pads right here. And, they're not indestructible. They're not as sturdy or as durable as metal jaws. But I mean, I think I would probably do this to avoid scratching the fitting. Just don't want it to look ugly. I don't want to leave ugly scratch marks on equipment or on fittings, etc. But that's just what I would do. It does work on a 1/2-inch fitting too. If I'll probably open this up a notch or two like that. But I mean, that's what I would do. But anyway, just wanted to talk to y'all today about that and let y'all know about this, and give you some education and an opinion on what I think about these. If you have any questions, please send me a DM or post a comment in the video, and I will respond to you as soon as possible. I hope this video was educational for you and give you a different perspective on the tools. Thank you very much for watching my videos. Please like and share my videos, and I appreciate that. That does help me. Y'all have a wonderful day. God bless. Bye.